Namaste. My name is Walck, and I'm a certified Iyengar yoga teacher. Welcome to a yoga sequence for affirming the presence of fullness. In the Isha Upanishad, there is an invocation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The translation is Om, this is full, that is full. From fullness comes the full. When the full is removed from fullness, only fullness remains. Let's begin with a vinyasa. That means literally to move with the breath. We'll start in Warrior One and then come into the fullness of Parshvottanasana. Start in Tadasana. Join the inner edges of your feet. With an exhalation, press down evenly between the balls of your big toes, and your little toes, the front of your heels, and the back of your heels. Take your hands up in line with your collarbones, and while inhaling, jump your arms and legs wide apart. Keeping your shoulder blades moving down, your chest extending out through your arms, beyond your fingertips. Turn your upper arms in the sockets and extend your arms overhead. Turn to the right. See that your left outer hip moves forward and your right outer thigh and hip draw backward so that your two hips are in line with one another. Again, extend up through your arms as you press down through your heels, and then with an exhalation, bend your right knee. Move your right sitting bone towards the back of your right knee while keeping your left sitting bone reaching towards your left heel. Inhale, raise your chin and your chest up, and look up from the inner space behind your sternum. And then press your heel down to inhale and come up. Bring your hands to Paschimottanasana, prayer position behind your back. Feel how the little fingers moving towards your spine. Bring your consciousness into the presence of the fullness that is the core of your being. With an inhalation, keeping your left heel connected to the floor, raise your chin up, and as you exhale, keep drawing that outer right hip back and that left hip forward, and extend forward over your right leg. Keep your shoulders lifting up and your chin moving forward to extend the front of your spine. Press your left heel down, inhale, and come back up. Release your arms and come back to the center. We'll repeat on the left side. Turning to the left, this time see that outer right hip is moving forward towards the wall in front of you while drawing that left outer hip and thigh backward. Now when I move my right hip forward, my right knee bends slightly. So I have to pull up on my inner right knee and lift it up towards the ceiling as I bend my left knee and come to Virabhadrasana 1. This is a power pose. When I take my arms over my head, it sends a message to the contents of my chest, which is where my heart chakra is located, to rise up and live up to my full potential. From here, bringing my hands into Paschimottanasana again brings me closer to the truth. Keeping my inner right knee lifting, see how I exhale and come into Parshvottanasana. Watch that inner right knee. It's a touchstone. It allows you to stay connected to the foundation of your asana as you move towards that left leg. To come up, press your right heel firmly down, lift your chin, lift your chest, and then your spine. Turn back to the center, jump your legs back together, and feel the buoyancy that this vinyasa has created inside the container of your soul. Our next poses are going to be forward bends, both seated and squatting. We'll start from Dandasana, which is the foundation for all of the seated asanas and the forward extensions. Dandasana is staff pose. Just like in mountain pose, when you balance the weight evenly between your left foot and your right foot, now the entire bottom or back of your legs are like the soles of your feet. They're the foundation for your pose. So draw a line from your buttock bones to your heels. See that you're pressing down evenly on those two lines. Observe if you feel like you're rolling to the outside of one of those lines, the inside of the other, and make any adjustments that you need to by turning your thighs out or in so that you're absolutely balanced over the median lines of the back of your legs. The first pose is Triangle Kayapada Paschimottanasana. And that means 3 limbs face 1 foot or leg, intense stretch of the back of the body pose. See how I keep one leg in Dandasana while I take the other leg into Hero's pose or Virasana. Before you extend forward, it's important to see that you're balanced evenly again between your 2 buttock bones. So since I'm tipping over towards my right leg slightly, I'm going to take a blanket, place it underneath the buttock of just my right leg, and bring my left leg back into Virasana. Now I'm balanced evenly between my outer left shin, my left foot, and the center of my right leg. Roll your shoulders back. Inhale, raise your arms up as you did in Virabhadrasana 1, and use your arms lifting up to lift the sides of your chest, your sternum, and your collarbones up towards the space between your hands. With an exhalation, extend forward, keeping the outer edge of your left foot, your left shin pressing firmly down into the floor. Pull up with your arms to lift the anterior surface of your spine and move your back ribs in towards your chest. With your next exhalation, keeping your inner upper arms lifting, bend your elbows out to the sides and bring the sides of your waist, your abdomen, your chest, and your face onto your right leg. As you press down on the outer edge of your left foot, raise your elbows up and pull gently on your foot to lengthen the sides of your body, your throat, your eyes, and the top of your brain towards your right foot. With an inhalation, come back up. We'll repeat to the other side. See how I take the blanket just underneath my left buttock bone? The blanket underneath my left buttock bone shifts some of the weight over into my right leg so that I feel the presence of the earth element spreading evenly between my two legs. Again, I have one leg in Dandasana and one leg in Virasana, which helps turn both of my thighs in, broaden my buttock bones, so that as I exhale and extend forward, my spine flows freely forward. Now, if you're working with some stiffness in your legs, your buttocks, your spinal muscles, and when you attempt to reach for your foot, your back ribs move towards the wall behind you instead of forward towards the wall in front of you in the direction that you're extending, you can use a belt to maintain the integrity and the full elongation in the anterior spine. Then when you exhale and extend forward, you can hold your foot. If your head doesn't reach your shin, you can take a block, place it in front of your right knee, and bring your forehead onto the block. Our next pose is Marichiasana 1. For this pose, I'm going to sit on a blanket. Here comes my yoga buddy, Petey, to help me practice. I've been wondering when he was going to make an appearance in these videos. Petey's been practicing yoga every day of his life for several hours a day, at least when I'm in town with him, since he was 6 months old. In the morning, if I sleep in a little later than 8 a.m., he goes to the mat and he cries. Well, it's not really crying, it's calling for me. Now, instead of one leg in Dandasana and one leg in Virasana, I'm going to place one leg in Marichiasana and keep the other leg in Dandasana. So again, I have one bent leg and one straight leg, and I'm extending forward. Raise your arms up, and again, use the stretch of your arms to lift the sides of your rib cage, your sternum, and your collarbones up towards the space between your hands. And with an exhalation, move your ribs, your sternum, and your collarbones forward while maintaining their upward extension. Your next exhalation, bend your elbows out to the sides and press your inner right heel down. Draw your outer right thigh down and move the sides of your chest, your sternum, your collarbones forward, and your waist and your armpits down towards the floor. Inhale, come back up to the upward extension stage of Marichiasana 1. And then come back to Dandasana. As we repeat to the other side, I'll show you some modifications, again, for those of you who are working on increasing the mobility in your buttocks, your lower back, and your hamstrings. Just as you did in Triamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana, you can use the belt to help you reach your foot while maintaining the integrity and the full elongation of the front of your spine. For some of you, this may be where you're at. Allow yourself to drop into the full acceptance of the present state of your embodiment. For those of you who can extend forward, you'll walk your hands closer to your foot and then bend your elbows out to the sides. Again, if your head doesn't reach your shin, take the block and allow the front of your brain to rest coolly, quietly, and calmly on the block. What's fun about our next pose, Malasana, the garland pose, is that it takes the bent leg from the one side of Marichiasana 1 and the bent leg from the other side of Marichiasana 1 and combines them together into a squatting forward extension. This is one of my favorite yoga poses. Remember that all of these props are available at rodales.com. Props educate the body and make movement possible where it wouldn't be otherwise. That's what my teacher tells us. And it's also what I've directly experienced from my own use of the props over the last 15 years of practice. Again, the garland pose, Malasana, starts in Dandasana. From here, bend your knees, separate your feet slightly, place your feet on the floor, and hug your shins. As you pull your arms against your legs, lift the sides of your waist, your sternum and your collarbones up, much like you did in the previous poses. Separate your legs out to the sides while maintaining the downward pressure of the balls of your big toes and your inner heels. Just like in Marichiasana 1, this is a touchstone. With an exhalation, move the sides of your waist, chest, sternum, collarbones, throat, and eyes forward. And with an exhalation, reach your arms around your shins to hold your ankles. Now keeping the inner edges of your feet pressing down. Inhale. Lift the front of your armpit, chest, and your eyes up. And then with an exhalation, keeping your heels down on the floor, extend forward and bring your forehead to the floor. Come back into Dandasana. If your heels don't stay down on the floor in this pose, you can take a folded blanket or two and place your heels on the blanket. Again, you can use the belt to help you reach your goal, which is your heels in this pose. And your head can rest on the block, either on the high side, the medium side, or the low side. We've been doing a lot of hip flexion, deep hip flexion in these forward extensions. Now, we're going to do the opposite. We'll be doing hip flexion with the legs apart in Upavishta Konasana. But as we come into Parivritta Upavishta Konasana, or revolved seated angle pose, we'll be doing more of a backward extension movement with the spine and the spinal muscles, and twisting them gently. Just like in Dandasana, I've placed myself in Upavishta Konasana so that I'm balanced between the buttock bones and the heels on those median lines. Inhale, raise your chest, your sternum and your collarbones up towards the space between your two hands while keeping your legs stretched out towards your heels. And with an exhalation, turn towards your right leg. Turn the left side of your chest all the way around towards your right little toe. Now, keeping your right thigh descending, reach from your right lung all the way towards your left big toe and hold your big toe firmly between your first two fingers and your thumb. You're making a mala or a garland with your fingers and your thumb around your big toe. Raise your right arm up. Lift your chest up towards your collarbones, and with an exhalation, take your right arm around behind your back and press your hand down onto your left thigh. Use the pressure of your left big toe reaching into your fingers and your thumb, and the backward pull of your fingers and your thumb against your big toe to help extend your spine more and more and more. Inhale and come back to the center. As always, you can use a belt to help you reach your goal, which is, as is the priority with all of our poses, the full extension of the spine. See how I use my foot pressing into the belt and my hand pulling back on the belt to lengthen my spine as I turn it. For our Savasana, we're going to bring our legs into simple cross-legged pose. Sometimes we lie down on blankets to support the lift and the opening of the chest. In this sequence, we're going to lie flat on the floor to increase the opening between the pelvis and the thighs, what we call the groins. Now the groins or the hips are coming into extension. Hold the sides of the mat. As you press down on the outer edges of your feet, move the outer thighs, the outer knees closer to the floor, and with your palms gripping the mat, turn your upper arms from the inside out to bring your shoulder blades closer together and on to the back of your chest. Let go of the mat. Move your arms out to the sides just enough so that there's an uninterrupted flow of energy between the sides of your chest and your inner upper arms. Inhale so that the breath spreads like water being poured on the floor inside the container of your chest, around the seat of your heart. And as you exhale, exhale from the pupils of your eyes towards the space behind your eyes, and let the eyeballs themselves lie down on the back of your skull. Inhale, and spread your ribs away from each other. And your two lungs, move them apart. And as you exhale, exhale from your outer ears towards your eardrums. And let your eardrums lie down next to your eyes, the base of the back of your skull. Gently and with as little movement as possible, change the cross of your legs. As you inhale, feel the breath gently touching the space between the ribs on the sides of your body. And as you exhale, exhale from behind the eyes, from behind the ears, and all the way from the tip of the tongue to the back of the tongue and down through the central channel of your throat and into your heart. Allow yourself a few moments of stillness that leads to silence, that brings you closer to the peace that leads to bliss. Stretch your legs out one by one. Keep your organs of perception as close to your heart as possible. Bend your elbows. Take your loving hands, place them on your chest. Let the space behind your sternum rise up towards your hands so you feel the fullness, the presence of the self. And then staying close to that space inside, bend your knees, turn over onto your side. And sit back up. Peace and blessings to you all. From my heart to yours, Namaste.